Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's well. As always, just before we get started, I'd like to do a quick sound check, make sure everyone can hear me. Same way as always. So at the bottom, we have a collection of emojis. Feel free to pick whichever one you like the most. Give that a click for me. It lets me know you can hear me. That would be great. Doing fantastic. So they're all coming in. Well, firstly, thank you to everyone who took the time today to join us for this Fast Track webinar session. My name is Adam. For those who haven't met me, I'm a solutions consultant here at Fast Track. And last week, I had the pleasure of bringing you a session on why real-time data is essential for best-in-class player experience. And during that session, we received quite a few very interesting questions regarding personalization, one-to-one player engagement, and that's kind of led us to where we are now, which is today's session, which is how to use the Singularity Model to build hyper-personalized CRM strategies. I speak to hundreds of operators a year about personalization and one-to-one engagement, and I always kind of run into the same questions. And you may think of these yourself as we go through, but it's normally we already have a level of basic personalization. What makes this different? And it's true, standard CRM will offer you a basic level of personalization. But we want to go beyond that. We want to look at hyper-personalization. And to do that, you need to be able to know your players on a whole nother level and be able to engage with the right content. That's where Fast Track comes in. Fast Track is on a mission to digitalize the iGaming industry and deliver the first self-learning engagement platform. Simply put, we are building the future of CRM. It's a bold claim, and a lot of people ask, well, what does that mean? For us, it means operators having access to a one-to-one self-learning platform at scale. We call that future Singularity. Now, before we go into how that works, I'd like to focus on how the information gets into our system for it to be able to work. There's a lot going on with this slide, admittedly. So if you bear with me, I will guide you through it. And we're going to start in the top left corner. This is our real-time data stream. What it's doing is watching every player engagement on your site. What's the journey they're taking? So that could be what games did they play? Which bonuses have they clicked? When did they log in, deposit, wins, losses, and more, all being fed directly into a real-time data platform. Now, once that information is there, it's used in two ways. So one is a real-time data warehouse, one is a real-time data model, and they're both equally as important. One would feed your CRM system to ensure you've got the most up-to-date player information, and the other feeds your third-party platforms to ensure you've got consistency and accuracy across the board. But it's when the information is inside the CRM that the magic happens. So that's when we're at this stage here. And you'll see we have something called lifecycle automation, which as a name might be new to a lot of you. You might be more familiar with the term customer journey builders. We stripped customer journey builders apart and we rebuilt them to include variables because we don't all follow the same path. We don't all have the same journey. So it's being able to account for the variables. That's what we focused on. And within one automation, you have these little circles. And these little circles are all the different activities. So if we deep dive a little bit into an activity, you will see a multi-channel orchestrated approach, which means we can engage via email, SMS, push notification, on-site notification, but we can also trigger bonus engines and gamification and more. And the question we always get asked is, well, how do you offer all of that? And the simple answer is we don't. We are designed to be a centralized platform that is the most flexible CRM solution. So you can choose whoever you wish to use, whether it's a SendGrid or a Link Mobility or a Twilio, and we will integrate so that you can offer your players the best experience using the best tools, but have one centralized platform to engage. That's where we stopped before, but now we're going to dive a layer deeper, which is here, and it's how do we know what to send with inside these activities? Well, that's where machine learning comes in and AI, specifically the Singularity Model. The Singularity Model works like a matchmaking service. So all the content within your system can be predefined. So this is available for this type of player who likes this type of bonus. Because we have the most up-to-date player information, the Singularity Model can match between the two, ensuring we always send the most relevant content at the most optimal time by the most cost-efficient channel. So that's kind of an overview of how we get there. What I want to look at is how it's used today. There's an example here that I'm sure many of you will have come across, which is reactivating churn casino players. It was always a big subject. It's becoming more and more important by the day. As competition grows, so does the cost of acquiring players. So retaining what you have is more important than ever. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to send out some content. It's going to be the most relevant offer available. We're going to send it the most optimal time, and we're going to send it via the most cost-effective channel. But we want to take into consideration some dimensions. So we want the content to be based around the player's preferred bonus type. We want to take into consideration what's their predicted next deposit. What's the most optimal time of day we can engage, and what's the most cost-effective channel we can send. Now, if we make it a bit more visual, it looks something like this. So on the far left, we have our trigger, the reason you would do the engagement, which is your players have churned or are churning. And we want to get to the right-hand side, one-to-one experience. The problem is the player could take any pathway through here. So you've got to have the different options covered. So for preferred bonus type, it might be a free spin. It might be a deposit bonus, or it could be a mixture of both. In regards to deposit bracket, they could be a low, medium, high, which is defined by you. Optimal time of day, we've gone for morning, afternoon, and evening. And most cost-effective channel, we have SMS, email, and push. You have no way of knowing which journey that player is going to take to get to their one-to-one experience. So in this instance, we'll be sending out an offer, which is deposit €500 and get 251 euro free spins. How would you do this now? So on a legacy CRM, every dimension would increase your workload. So you would start with one campaign. You would then have to make 3 variants for the first dimension and times that by 3 for the next and by the next. So to achieve this level of one-to-one experience in a legacy CRM, you'd need to create 81 campaigns. I can't imagine as many people in here that would think that's an easy doable task. It's not. And that's a small percentage of the dimensions that are used. If you want to add 2 languages, you have to double that workload. All of a sudden, we're at 160 campaigns. It expands exponentially. So what's the alternative? Well, that's the fun part. I now get to show you what hundreds of operators who are with Fast Track, how they use the Singularity model to achieve this exact same result. Now, admittedly, I haven't found a seamless way of transitioning between these 2 screens yet, so I'm going to stop sharing and jump over to my CRM. I will figure this part out eventually. Great stuff. So now we're at the Fast Track CRM. This is what our operators see when they log in. We have a beautiful and bright login screen. As you can see, we are very proud of the webinar series. So I'm going to log in. And as we transition through the system, you may see things that pique your interest. Rest assured, I will follow up with everybody. If you would like a more in-depth analysis, I'm always happy to do that. But what we're going to do for now is I'm actually going to expand my screen a little bit so it's clear. I'm going to start by going across to the left-hand side of the screen here, and you'll notice a little circular icon. You will see it throughout the system as we go through. Whenever you see it, it means the Singularity model is in use. When I click on this, we have a whole list of different features we could look into. For the benefit of time today, I'm going to focus on 2 key areas: action groups and collections. And we start with action groups. This is where things start to change. So you may be following the same process now where you build your campaigns as you need them. So you'll get a message from marketing saying we need to do a reactivation campaign. Okay, what email do I want to send? Which bonus are we going to use? We want to work slightly different. And the action groups works like a content library. So you can create all of the different types of campaigns you may use in advance and store them here. So they're ready to be used when you need them. And you can see we've got a whole range covered. So one of the first dimensions was bonus type. We've got deposit bonuses, we've got free spin bonuses, and also we've got a combination. So we've covered that dimension. Then we had predicted deposit bracket. Well, we've got lower deposits, medium deposits, and high deposits. You will notice we don't have time or channel here, but I show you that's coming. So what we're going to do, this is the bonus that the system recommended for that player, which was deposit €500 and get €251 spins. So we'll click in to have a look what this looks like. And the first thing you'll see is versions. The way this works when you're engaging with one-to-one is being able to evolve quickly, make changes and adaptations when they're needed until they're perfectly tailored around your player base. This is how you do that. If I go into my latest version and scroll down, the first thing you will see is that little circle icon pops up again. In this instance, it's Smart Channel. This is the first instance of one-to-one experience within the Singularity model. And it takes away the need to create the extra work because the system will already pick the most cost-efficient outbound channel for that player without you having to duplicate the workload. All you simply do is tick to turn it on, and you will see it's now selected the two options. So it's now an or rather than an and. We have our email, our SMS, and our bonus ready to go. You can actually do something a little bit cleverer. If we go into the emails, the content within the email can also dynamically change based on the player it's going to. So if you want to offer a true one-to-one experience, your images can automatically change depending on who they're going to. If it's a VIP, we can show them they're a VIP. So it's not just about top-level content. Every individual aspect can be tailored as well. So we know what we're sending. We have the bonus ready. How do we tell the system how to use it? That's where classification comes in. So by working down the list, I'm able to tell the system exactly who this content was designed for. Inactive players. So why is this important? Well, very simply, you don't want to be able to send welcome offers to inactive players. You don't want to send churn offers to active players. It's about defining the content early so the system can do the rest of the work for you. We can set release mechanisms and translations, jurisdictions and offer value, what offer type it is, and more. This is where we take away the need to do 80 different campaigns. So now we've got this set up. We would go through quality assurance. Quality assurance is always important. When you're using AI and automation, we want to remove that human error. By doing this, the content is always ready when you are. It will sit and wait, and the second the system determines it needs to be sent, it will be sent. So we confirm the classifications and the actions, and then we hit save. Now, how do we use that content? Well, we go back to Singularity Model, and this time we're going to jump over to collections. And I will say, I will open a Q&A session at the end. So if any questions do come up, rest assured, I will do my best to answer them all as quickly as I can. So now we're in collections. Well, what is this? This is where we're going to collate together all the specific action groups you've already created so that you can use them for the right player type. So I'm going to click Create New because I want to show you how easy this is. We're going to do reactivation campaigns. Never type when anyone's watching. And just so I don't forget, we'll put webinar at the end. Okay, so we've named our collection now. How do we add the content? Simply click Action Groups, and you will see all the actions I previously created are now here. I'm going to take the top 10 as an example. I'm going to click Add. Our collection is now populated. So we have reactivation campaigns that can cover all the predicted deposit brackets, all the bonus types. Smart channel is already being handled by the system automatically, which leaves one dimension, which we will look at, which is smart time of day. But how do we define the model the same way we did the action groups? We simply click here at the top into models, and we're given two options. One is an eligibility model, and one is a scoring model. The first tells the system which content can be used before it picks. So a great example of what's normally used here by our existing clients is life stage, jurisdiction, maximum allowed, and opt-in channel. So life stage, I've already kind of touched on, which is you wish to ensure that if you accidentally add a welcome offer to your reactivation folder, you're safe, because the system will always check, this content was designed for an inactive player. Is this player inactive? If it does, it will allow it to go. If it doesn't, it will remove it and block it from being sent. Jurisdiction, because not every offer can be used across all your brands. So this allows you to say this is UK GC only and prevents any, let's say, bad situations from occurring. Maximum allowed value is about looking after your players. If your player has a maximum monthly deposit of 50 euros and you send them an offer saying deposit 100 euros and receive X, then you're going against what they have set in regards to responsible gambling, and we can't do that. And finally, opt-in channels. Quite self-explanatory for this one, but if a player has opted out of SMS and you have an SMS-only campaign, it won't pick it. So what we're doing at this stage is telling the system what not to send. So that would leave us with the remaining campaigns. How can we tell the system to pick? Well, there's two key criteria from the slide that we looked at earlier. One was the predicted deposit bracket, which I'll add in, and the other was the preferred offer type. So now they're in, what we're telling the system is when you are going into that collection to choose which content to send, this is what you're going to use to score. Now, as it currently stands, both of these have equal weight in the decision. So we want it needs to be the right offer type just as much as it needs to be the right deposit. But what if you don't have the range of deposit brackets? That's where these little dials come in. So I'm going to tell the system that the preferred offer type is twice as important as the predicted deposit bracket. So in this instance, we had a predicted deposit of 500 euro and they wanted free spins. I'm saying if you can do 250 as a big deposit bracket, but it's still free spins, that's okay. You have complete control. All the content features and player features you've seen, such as preferred offer type, you can create complete custom options as well to ensure that you're always giving your player base specifically what they need to see. So once we've done that, we click create and save. How do we use it? Frankly, that's the really easy bit. So I'm going to go back to the left-hand side here. I'm going to go to activities, and I'm going to create a new activity. Now, in most cases, people use these as part of an automated life cycle. For the benefit of now, I'm going to show you how it looks if you create a standalone activity. So it's Tuesday. We will do a Tuesday reactivation. We're going to work top to bottom. Now, admittedly, again, some parts I'm going to skip over, but I always like to highlight this part at the top, which is player origins. So player origins is the capability of feeding multiple player bases into one fast track instance. And the reason I highlight this is you can also have your content restricted based on the player base. So you could have multiple geographical locations fed into one fast track CRM, safe in the mind that the content can still be locked depending on the player base. Just saves you having to duplicate the work. So I'll select the player bases I want to use. In this instance, it'll be all. And now we're doing a type of activity. Well, as mentioned, we're going to do a Tuesday reactivation. So that's exactly what I'm going to select, Tuesday. And once again, we have the Singularity Model pop up. This time it's smart time of day. Depending on your player base size, there's a chance that there's not a good time to mass send it to everybody. we want to look at hyper-personalisation. This is the final step in that 4-dimension plan we were looking at. The system will look at every single player in the segmentation and decide what is the optimal time of day for this exact player, and that's when it will send. So they're getting the right content. It's going via the most cost-efficient channel, and now it's going at the smart time of day. So let's move down to the heart and soul of any good CRM, your segmentation. We're doing inactive players, and you will notice I did not have to update any lists. I didn't have to do any data transfers to get that. I simply selected inactive players because it's fed with real-time data. I already know that's the most up-to-date list of inactive players you have. And then we get to the final step, the action group. All I need to do is click one-to-one experience and select the reactivation collection webinar that I've created. The system will do a quick analysis, and if you've managed to cover all the bases, what you should see is this nice smiley face here telling you you've got an excellent collection. That means based on the range of criteria you have set, you are covering the bases for your player. It'll tell you how many are eligible. This is the ideal where everyone's got 4 or 5 different offers they can have. So the system has a choice to be able to send different ones to each player and analyze the results. Now, one of the questions we always get is, well, can we analyze the content? You absolutely can, but it's such an in-depth topic that will be a separate webinar on that side as well. So what do I do now? I click save. And I have peace of mind of knowing that all 33 players within this segmentation will get a hand-picked piece of content at the most optimal time of day by the most cost-efficient channel. I created 10 campaigns to achieve that, as opposed to 81. I could add language in the click of a button. On a legacy CRM, you would have to create another 81 campaigns in Swedish, as an example. The more you wish to define, the more effective the Singularity model becomes, because you don't need the extra work. The system will do the calculations based on the content you already have. So that being said, I am going to jump back now. It's still not going to be seamless, but I'm going to jump back to my presentation. Because that's giving you an example of the big difference between legacy CRM and what our clients are able to do. It's about personalizing at scale. With this model here that you can see on screen, scalability is not an option. You will always be capped by how much a human being can do within one day. When you go to the Singularity model, it's easy to set up. You saw me how I did it. It's easy to quality assure. It's easy to test. It's easy to analyze, and it's easy to evolve. I guess the only real question is, would you rather make 80, 160 campaigns, or would you rather make it easy? Fantastic. So that was the fun part. I'm going to open up the Q&A channel. So in the bottom right corner, you should now see a Q&A option. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask away. Admittedly, I'm not the most technical, so if there's any questions that I can't answer, I will make sure one of our technical leads follows up in regards to how the Singularity model works, but I'll always do my best to answer as much as I can. Cool, fantastic. Let's give those a few seconds to start coming through. So we've had a question come through here. Hoping it'll pull through. There we go. So great session. Firstly, thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. What can I expect in terms of improvement by using the system? So better open rate, conversion, churn reduction. Can you tell me what your current customer experience is like? It's a brilliant question. It's probably the most common question we get, which is absolutely fine, because everyone wants to achieve that success. Now, the issue is success looks different to everybody, so there is no magic number. What we will do is work with each and every operator to be able to evolve this around your player base. So to see an increase in player engagement and to decrease the churn is what we will be aiming for. But it all depends, and I always say this all the time, is it's kind of like a race car. Is you can have the best race car, but you have to know how to drive it. Our job is to make sure you know how to drive it for your track, your player base. When you do that, then you achieve those results. And how successful it is purely depends on how much time you put in analyzing and evolving as time goes on. I hope that answers your question. Another question here. Let's have a look. So from a content perspective, we saw an example that the images were used. Do you have the capability to populate the text with variables related to favorite game or last game played? As long as that information is stored within your platform and we can pull it, we can action upon it. So how our email system works is it kind of works like a Rubik's Cube. So you'll have different blocks which can change as needed. So you can have different content blocks set up depending on favorite game, because we can track every engagement. We can tell you what the most popular game is on your site. And then from there, the content can change based on the player that it's going to. So if a player plays a lot of play and go games, for example, it might show play and go, whilst if they play evolution, it'll show evolution. It's all about adapting around how you wish to engage with your players. Again, I hope that answers the question. So another one here which has come through. Thanks, Adam. Super interesting. Again, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Can we use some of the Singularity features, i.e. best time of day, but not others? Or does it have to be all or nothing? Again, great question. We don't have a one-size-fits-all approach. We will give you all the tools. How you use them is up to you. For some people, this might be completely new, and you want to scale it a bit over time. So introduce bonus type first, and then move on to predicted deposit brackets. You don't have to use everything in one go. It simply allows you to use as much as you want to offer a more defined personalization. Thank you very much. I saw a question coming in the chat, I believe. Thank you, Muriel. So Shireen, hello. Can you do web layers, personalized content on site as part of the CRM journey? So how that would work, what I will do, Shireen, is I'll follow up with last week's webinar, as I feel like that might answer your question a little bit more, but we can react in real time to the events that are happening on your site. So you might have two different pop-ups loaded within the system. As an example, if the player wins, this pop-up will come up. If the player loses, this will come up. So although that's not necessarily within the content or the Singularity that we've looked at today, yes, it's very much about offering the player a personalized experience when they're on the site. Personalized banners on site. Okay, so I think that's probably more along the CMS lines. It's not to say no, but it's one I would think I'd rather have a technical lead just to have a look at how that would link up. We are designed to be as flexible as possible. So if there's a way to do it, we will do it. That's probably the safest way I can say that. Questions coming quick now. I'll try and answer a few more for you. So will the Singularity model allow us to build more complex and intuitive life cycles? Yes, but it also allows you to build more simplified life cycles as well, because you don't have to worry about creating the content for every aspect. You can create content that can dynamically change based on that. So it's used by our operators at the moment to achieve more in-depth welcome cycles or onboarding, reactivations, and obviously the gold mine is churn prevention. So the system can react to an event happening and then personally pick content for you. So you don't have to accommodate for all the variables, because the one-to-one experience will be able to calculate which content should we be sending. But yes, it can also be used to make more complex and intuitive life cycles, but can also simplify as needed as well. I think we've got time for 2 more questions. So we have one here, which is according to your experience, how many types of bonuses should we have to cover this model, which was shown? Good question. And again, there's no right answer. It's all about evolving and trial and error. So of course there is standardized bonuses that are used, such as reload bonuses, cash drop bonuses, deposit bonuses, and free spins. But that's not to say that's what your player base wants. So what we do instead is we work with you to set up the foundations. We talk about how we analyze that data, and we identify and we keep trying out new things. And you'll be able to see in real time, was this successful? If it was, great. That's how we now know how your player base works. And that's the key element. It's about your player base. Although iGaming as a whole can kind of be summed up, everyone's looking for something different. Everyone's on a different journey. So although we will always offer guidance on what will work, what could work, what couldn't work, we never really provide the content because there's no one fit solution for everybody. Instead, we'll work with you to shape your content and analyze it as effectively as possible. Fantastic. And then we have, let's go one more question, which is, if my team only have to create 10 campaigns worth of resources to push out the equivalent 80 campaigns, how do you advise to utilize the extra time saved amongst the team? Does this make the CRM team redundant? Absolutely not. It's more about reutilizing that. So what we don't, I mean, I guess everyone doesn't want this, is CRM teams that are sat sending campaigns. What your team ideally should be doing is ideation and creation. It should be doing the exciting things that make iGaming exciting as they are. So it's analyzing the content, it's developing new ways of engaging with the platform. The difference is they now don't have to duplicate that same campaign 80 times. So once you've got your reactivation campaigns established and you've covered the bases, okay, how can we reinvent our welcome offers based on what we know about our player base and what makes them come to the site? What onboardings, life cycles can we put into place to ensure that when the players are there, they have the best possible experience? It's about taking them away from execution and letting them create, I guess would be the simplest way. Again, I hope that answers the question. If any of the questions you feel weren't answered, like I said, rest assured I will follow up and we're able to expand and go from there. But once again, I appreciate everybody who's come out and viewed this today. I hope you've all took something away from it. It'll be myself, one of my wonderful colleagues who follows up. If you would like to see a more detailed 360 overview, that's fantastic. And if any of my marketing team are here, if they could put our LinkedIn link into the chat, what I would advise, if you can follow us on LinkedIn, you will have full oversight into well, two key things. One, the upcoming webinars, which will be running, it's currently on a weekly basis. But two, there's a lot of exciting events coming up, which we will be at. And I'm more than happy to demonstrate this if any of you are there. But again, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Also, for those who are here, Lewis has just kindly put our LinkedIn profile in the chat. So feel free to give that a click. And I said that will keep you up to date on not even just the webinars, it's the developments and what the future of CRM is going to look like as we continue to shape it. I appreciate all the kind words in the chat as well. Thank you very much. Goodbye.